So here's the sort of water section on our base. I used a Dremel like this, and yes, little mini bits of sawdust go absolutely everywhere, so probably best done outside or in a workshop. I've then just run over it roughly with a bit of sandpaper. There's some undulations and different sort of heights here just because I've not been very careful when I've been going around. That was partly deliberate because I don't want to compromise the strength of the plywood, but more importantly, when I paint this, I want there to be some sort of natural differentiation. So I'm going to paint it a blue and then probably put a little wash over it before applying the water mixture. So now what we're going to do is prep. What I'm going to do first is prep the back of the board, and I'm going to put some weights on this while it's drying. So I'll be weighting the corners, and possibly that'll be enough, because you can see what I've actually done. There's a slight flex there. I looked at the wood, and the natural bow is upwards in this particular case, so that when we sit our castle on it, we need almost the weight will take it flat. Now, if I were to have turned it the other way, we'd end up having to address this sort of flex straight away. We're only talking about, well, maybe a couple of mil at each edge. This is a natural product. One of the benefits of actually sealing it with a bit of paint is that if we hold it during that process, as it dries, it should level itself out. Well, what am I going to do? Well, to be honest, this is a new thing for me. I've tried PVA watered down as a sealer before for MDF and for plywood, and all those. Obviously, this is a piece of ply. MDF sealer will do just as good a job. This is a water-based mix. You can hear, hopefully from that it's a very watery mix. So what we're going to do is shake that up, give it a bit of a stir. I recommend using the low odor version. I'm going to put something down underneath this board so that when it rests on the table, it's not leaking onto the actual surface underneath, which is actually a Wargames mat. So I'll put something underneath that, and then we'll show you how runny and how easy it is to apply this sealer. So hello, I've given this MDF sealer a bit of a stir, and I've got myself a sort of reasonably sized inch wide-ish brush, nothing particularly fancy, and we're just going to run that across the top, spreading it out evenly. All I've done to protect the worktop is to put some newspaper down, because hopefully I'm not going to go too mad around the edges, because I'm trying to seal the middle bit really more than anything else. I would normally do this outside, maybe put it on a level floor, but it's summer and it's England and it's raining. So this is a sensible way of doing it. So I'm going to carry on doing that to the rest of the board, and then I'll weight each of the edges. What I'm going to do is just use some old sort of half full tins of paint and just sit them sort of like on the edge of each corner, and that should hopefully weight it down whilst it's drying and going flat. Whilst we've got the sealant out, what we're going to do is do the castle. But as with the base, where I've done the underside first, personally I want to do the inside of this model first. So I've taken all the top sections off. I'm going to very carefully move it around. You can see the underside there, and what I'm going to do is just take the brush, go in every single area, not worry too much about it running in, and then I'll flip it out over the top and check that we haven't created too many runs on the upper surface. Now I'm proceeding to do the same on the upper surface. I'm doing the cardboard as well. It's leaving the line definition in. It's very runny. Don't worry too much about that. It will be quite absorbent. Just a word of caution that it is sort of likely to affect the stability of the card, so you want to go really careful with the actual alignment and make sure that you don't warp it too much, and that is quite difficult to do. There we go. So I would concentrate on the MDF, and we'll worry about the lightness. I'm going to go very lightly on these outer walls because I really don't want to lose too much of that nice shape. You know, the castle was built to exacting standards, and we don't want our model to look anything other than realistic. So I'll carry on with this, and once this is done, do exactly the same to the roof sections, and then we'll be ready for painting. Okay, so I've finished painting the MDF sealer on now. I also promised myself this would be a warts and all video, so I'm really not happy with the fact that I used the sealer on the cardboard. In certain sections you can see it's caused some warping. I've been okay with the main sections, they're still straight. Whether it's just because I did too much on the inside, I have a feeling when I painted the underside, I tried to get down the edges here where you've got some of the internal MDF. It didn't go as well as planned. If this may dry, you know, in a semi-decent state. If it doesn't, what I'm going to do is just pop some thin card, well, some stiffer card on the inside of these pieces and recreate that straightness. I've seen the curvature here on the section that's right in front of the camera. Other than that, to be honest, there's one section around here which is just a little bit undesirable. You can see the sort of effect that we've got going on up here. And I think that I will possibly also give that the same treatment. I suppose I got away with it in many respects because it hasn't been too bad. Possibly going to a different type of sealant would be good, or even not bothering at all. I think it sort of reinforces my feeling though that cardboard's not necessarily the best choice for this outer wall, and maybe with a bit of thought, you know, a thicker card or a thin wood sheet would perhaps have been a little bit better. But again, you know, all these models, are produced to budget, and you have to take that into account when you're producing this. But again, it's the time and effort that for me outweighs the cost, and I'm trying to get the best possible finish. So I'm going to give it time to dry and then reassess the situation. I should point out that the roof sections, and I'll just grab one whilst we're on camera, have been substantially unaffected by any kind of warping, and maybe the cocktail sticks and general robustness of the construction has actually helped in that regard. But as I said, these are fine, even though I've actually put quite a bit of sealant on. It's just these thin outer walls in a couple of sections that are giving me most cause for concern. I'm going to treat that as a good thing, in that I'll go around and I'll strengthen that before I stick it down on a board, and maybe in the long run that's probably for the best anyway. So I'll return as soon as that's dry. Welcome back. As you can see, the good news is the section is now dry. It's gone flat again, so that initial warping has disappeared. We've got back on nice straight lines, and I've stopped panicking about it looking too silly. You can probably still see that there's quite a lot of flex and movement there though. So just for my own benefit, what I'm going to do is cut out a small piece of MDF just to fit between these 2 points, and I'll stick it on the inside, and then, as I said, I'll glue it down the edges here where we've got this internal support, and I'll glue it to the cardboard, glue it to the other side, and then we should be in a position to crack on. Now, the other thing I noticed, and I'm sure some of you have noticed this already, is this problem here. Clearly what I've done is I've misaligned the top section with the bottom of the base, because clearly there should be some additional markings here to represent the stone effect. I'm going to deal with that fairly simply by just marking out my own pattern using a ruler and a permanent marker just to replicate that. It also did lead me to think that maybe what I want to do is put a little bit of filler down these lines so that when I paint that will sort of blend in a little bit more. So I'm going to have a little look at what I've got in the bits box. It probably won't be filler. What I'll probably do is just get a run of wood glue and just seal those edges nicely. I also, just to redirect the camera, remove the doors for painting in terms of under or sealing with the MDF sealer. I'm going to leave them out whilst I paint. But yeah, everything else is looking pretty good. I'm very pleased with the way that, as I say, the straightness and strength. So that's actually a lot firmer now. You obviously can't tell that through the video, but the actual MDF sealer has given it quite a lot more rigidity, which I'm very pleased with. If I can just sort out, literally there's a section here which is a bit wobbly. So let's come back here. There's this section I've now hidden here. But it will come back into focus in a minute. Yeah, this section here that's a little bit wobbly. I've got another sort of similar piece around this side. I'm just going to deal with those, and then it will make me a lot happier with the model, and I won't think about it in the years to come. And if I just split the model over, as you can see in all of these arrangements, we've got this here, just to explain, is an outer wall of the cardboard, which is why it flexes, and then an inner wall of MDF. I'm just going to slot something down inside there, glued against here, and that's going to sort the rigidity and stability out, I think, of the underside of the model. So I'll do that and then we'll come back. Okay, just to explain what's going on here, I've created some 4mm MDF pieces just out of some old scrap MDF, and what I've done is measured up so that they fit snugly into there, and with a bit of a push that will fit in there. And also if I bend the top slightly, you can see that it's flush with that cardboard. I've made sure that the bottom is appropriately sized, but I think just for my own benefit I'm going to just take the top edge off of that a little bit and sneak it in. I've put one in over here already just to show you, just to prove the concept. It's gone in snugly, it's fitted nicely against the line of the MDF, and it's really made a big difference to the other side. So I'll fit the rest of them and then we're done. Okay, so all of the inner lining wood has dried. We've got a nice sort of strengthening to our model. Just take this camera out over here so you can see the effect that I've got here, the wood inside, more here. As we've seen, this is what the base looks like now. So what I'm going to do now is just put glue on all of these edges and then line it up onto our base here. So turn this up the right way. I've marked out on here the position of the front section, so I've got the alignment correct. So let me just swing that round now. So there we go, that's the orientation that we're going to go for. So I'm going to, as I say, turn that back over, put all the wood glue on the bottom, and then line it up on the marks that I've put on the base, just making sure that we've got a nice firm seating. That feels pretty good to me, and the edges have gone well, in that they're not there's no rising action at all from any of those sections. So yeah, glue, stick it down, and then finally we can put some colour on. I thought it was just worth showing what I've done to the outside edges. I've sealed all the way along here with white PVA, well in this case wood glue. If I've seen any kind of gaps, any cracks in the joins, I've refilled those. Not had to do anything on here. As I say, this has dried really nice and taut. This is now strong. Not going to touch that, but that is actually strong. This tiny bit here just seals up the edges, and I've repeated that all the way around the model, and hopefully that will create a really nice bond against the wood, but also prevent some damage if we do happen to sort of strike the side or have any kind of impacts. Thanks. Welcome back. Just a little bit of a look at the castle from a distance, so you can see the overall effect. I'm very pleased, as I say, with this in terms of the overall impression. We've got it nicely on a base with the areas of water marked out, and yeah, looking forward to starting the painting.